Yes, a very good evening to all of you. Sorry, I'm starting late. I don't know, there was some internet issue. I was not able to connect only. So, how are you guys? कैसी चल रही है पढ़ाई? So, have you revised up till what we have discussed? Did you solve questions from the compiler? Yes? Okay. Chalo. Let us continue with our discussion. We were discussing shares and share capital. We discussed in the last lecture. We are left with debentures, charge, and deposit. Good evening, Amal. Good evening. So let us discuss all these three chapters today. Now, from debentures, I don't think they will ask you question on the basic aspects of debentures, like what are debentures and what are the different kinds of debentures. I don't think a question will be asked on that. But yes, what you may be asked is who are debenture trustees. Good evening, Ananya. You were not there in the last lecture, I think. Okay, so I don't think a question will be asked on what are debentures and what are the types of debentures. Yeah, they may ask you a question on what are secured debentures, because that is something which is generally asked in the exam. So if you want, you can mark secured debentures as important for exam. Then one thing which is generally asked as a 1 or 2 mark question, but even that is important at times. Can we issue debentures with voting rights? Okay, so this is something which is generally asked. Mostly the questions are asked on debenture trustee, who can be appointed, who cannot be appointed. Debenture trust deed can be asked in the exam. How to create DRR, that is debenture redemption reserve. This is very important. So there are only few aspects on which they generally ask questions. Okay, now let us discuss debentures. Debentures are nothing but loan given to the company. So why not go to the bank? Okay, why are you asking loan from the general public? That's because public is only satisfied with interest. Are you giving interest on time? Are redemptions happening on time? Yeah, we are satisfied with that. They don't trouble the company. But these banks, they have a lot of covenants, they have a lot of conditions. So banks are actually the last resort. Yeah. Good evening, Rahul. Welcome. And so companies generally prefer going to the public rather than going to the banks. And also the banks, they will ask you for a lot of security. Either, although it is, yes, you have secured debentures, but there is an option to issue unsecured debentures also, partly secured debentures. These debentures, they are repayable after a certain period of time. They're generally repayable after 10 years. And they will be paid along with interest. Now, interest may be paid maybe half yearly, yearly, quarterly. That it depends upon the terms of issue. I'll ask you a question. Let's see if you can answer. What about the debenture certificate? Within what time the company has to issue debenture certificate? Tell me. Debenture certificate. When is the company required? Within what time? Within 6 months of allotment. Yes, 6 months of allotment. The company needs to issue a debenture certificate within 6 months of allotment. Okay, so interest is to be paid. Debentures cannot be issued with voting rights. There is a very beautiful logic behind this. Can I issue debentures with voting rights? No, we cannot issue debentures with voting rights, because what will happen, anyways, they are creditors of the company. If you allow them to vote, you're placing them in a much more advantageous position than the equity shareholders. We can't allow that. Acha, what if my articles, okay, once in the exam a question was asked, what if the articles of association, they allow issue of debentures with voting rights? हम बोलेंगे फिर भी नहीं कर सकते. Even if your article is allowing you to issue debentures with voting rights, हम नहीं allow करेंगे. Articles में लिखा है, even then the company cannot issue debentures with voting rights. So that on that front we are very clear. Then yes, there are other things which I think you can go through on your own, whether what are the different kinds of debentures, secured, unsecured debentures, and what is the time limit. Yes, we can issue it for minimum 6 months to maximum 10 years. But yes, in case of infrastructure or companies engaged in setting up of infrastructure projects, companies which are infrastructure debt, non-banking finance companies, they can issue debentures which are redeemable even beyond 10 years but within 30 years, very similar to the preference share provision which you had discussed. What is most important from this is appointing the debenture trustee and entering into an agreement with him. Now, who is a debenture trustee and why is he appointed? Now, public has given lot of money to the company. Okay, public has given lot of money to the company. Whenever the public asks the company on how they are utilizing the money, the company is like, everything is proper, sab theek chal raha hai. There is no growth and development. You had taken money for growth and development. We can't see any growth and development. Arey hoega na. You will see it after 5 days, after 5 months. Yeah, pipeline mein hai. We are planning. So in this case, the public, whenever they ask the company हमेशा बोलते हैं हाँ सब अच्छा चल रहा है. अच्छा, sometimes redemptions are not happening on time, interest नहीं मिल रहा है. हम complain किसके पास करें? ये company तो सुन ही नहीं रही है. So what happens is we appoint a third person, someone who is independent, someone who is unbiased, someone who does not have any financial transaction with the company. Such person who acts as a liaison, as a connecting link between the company and the debenture holders, public, or let me write the debenture holders, they are known as debenture trustee. So these people, a trustee, he is appointed, I have written over here, to protect the interest of the debenture holders and to address their grievances. So if I am not receiving the redemption amount, if I'm not receiving interest on time, if our meetings are not called on time, whatever are your grievances, you can tell the debenture trustee and they will get it sorted with the company. Now, this trustee is appointed as a link between the public and the company. Now, we have to enter into an agreement. Why is an agreement required? अच्छा मेरी बात सुनो. Now you are allowing the trustee to take action on behalf of the debenture holders. Agreement तो चाहिए ना? Otherwise company बोलेगी who authorized you to take all this action? So you need an agreement. इसीलिए law बोलता है that you need to appoint a trustee even before you go to the public with your prospectus or letter of offer in case of private placement. And you need to enter into an agreement within 60 days of the allotment. So debenture trust deed means it is an agreement which is authorizing the trustees to take action on behalf of the debenture holders. So this is an agreement between the company and the trustees, that trustees will act on behalf of the debenture holders to protect the interest of the debenture holders. The trustee will be appointed, this is important for us, he will be appointed before the issue of the prospectus or letter of offer. This is possible in case you are offering the debentures through private placement. Prospectus will be issued when you are offering debentures through public issue, and letter of offer, this will be issued in case you are going for private placement. But the deed will be executed within 60 days of allotment. It means that the appointment will happen before the issue of the prospectus. But yes, the deed will be executed, the agreement will be entered within 60 days. This doesn't happen in case of deposit trustees. They are appointed and the agreement is also entered before we go to the public for accepting deposits. Okay, so in case of deposits, provisions are slightly different. Now, in case the company is going to the public, they are issuing prospectus, or they are making an offer or inviting the subscriptions from the public, maybe through an invitation. Okay, they are inviting, either you are issuing the prospectus or you are making an offer or invitation to the public, or you are making an offer to the members. If they exceed 500, okay, if I am giving prospectus to more than 500 people, if I am giving invitation to more than 500 people, or members are more than 500, then only I need to appoint trustee. If the number is less than 500, then trustee is not required. If you read the wording, students, it appears that only members have to be more than 500. But if you read the clarification as given in the Companies Act, if you read the interpretation, it is different from the 1956 Act. So now if you are either issuing a prospectus or invitation or members are more than 500, only then you need to issue only then you need to appoint a trustee, otherwise it is not required. And your debenture holder cannot be appointed as a trustee. It has to be some bank or financial institution carrying on, or any public financial institution or bank carrying on commercial activity. So an individual cannot be appointed as a trustee. Can be a person, an artificial person. And also the entities should be licensed by SEBI. Okay, so we will appoint them before the issue of prospectus. We will enter into an agreement within 60 days from the allotment. And if they are secured, only then trustees are generally required. Okay, when you have secured debentures, and the security will also be created in favor of the trustee. So the charge or the security is created in favor of the trustee. Only then, in case of default, trustee will be able to sell the assets and pay off the liabilities. Yes, so we will create a charge in favor of the trustee. Now, I know that a trustee has to be appointed even before we go to the public. Now, it may happen that, I appoint a trustee, I accept subscriptions. Now I know my work is over. I no longer require the help of the trustees. So what I will do is I will remove them. See, I don't want anyone to trouble me. No, I don't want that they should ask me questions when I am performing or using their money. So law says, don't act smart. You have appointed the trustee. You have accepted the debenture money because you know you will not be able to do unless and until you appoint a trustee. Now you are removing him after the money is received from the public. It is not possible. Trustee can be removed only with the approval of holders holding at least 3/4. Oh, charging. Just a minute, I'll put this for charging. Can't find the code. Guys, just give me a minute. So yes, trustees can be removed only with the approval of holders holding at least 3/4 of the value of outstanding debentures. So if the outstanding debentures are of rupees 4 lakhs, people holding 3/4, that is 3 lakh, only if I obtain the approval of people holding 3 lakh worth of outstanding debentures, only then I can remove a trustee before the expiry of his term. Now, who cannot be appointed as a trustee? It is important for case-based questions, okay? Generally asked as case-based questions. A shareholder having beneficial interest in shares cannot be appointed as trustee. Beneficial interest means someone who is going to get the benefit, like dividend. So let's say that Mr. X is the owner of shares, but he has asked the company to pay the dividend on his shares to Mr. Y. So Mr. Y in this case is the person holding beneficial interest in shares. I cannot appoint a promoter, director, KMP, or any other officer or employee, okay, or employee of the company, either company, holding, subsidiary, or associate company. I cannot appoint them as trustee. Why? Because we want the trustee to be an independent person, an unbiased person. We don't want that that he should think in his favor and not in favor of the debenture holders. So that is why we want that the trustee should be a person who is totally independent. He doesn't have any financial transaction. He doesn't have any shareholding in the company. He should be unbiased and independent person. So promoter, director, KMP of the company, of the holding or associate or subsidiary company cannot be appointed as trustee. Even their relatives cannot be appointed as trustee. So the third point is also related to the second one. Creditor of the company cannot be appointed as a trustee. Now, I am a creditor of only 499 rupees. Are 499 or 49 rupees, you cannot be appointed as a trustee. The amount is not given. If you are a creditor, You cannot be appointed. Yes. Oh, okay, okay. Screen is not visible. Yeah, just 1 minute. But I can see it. I'll just reconnect. I'm telling you, there is some network issue. I can see the screen. I have reconnected. Can you see it now? Is it visible? Okay. All right. So even if I am a creditor of 499 rupees, I will first think about my money. And then I will think of paying it to the creditor, to the debenture holders. So in this case, I don't want that the creditor should be biased and think about his interest before the interest of the debenture holders. So I will not appoint a creditor as debenture trustee. Any person who is indebted to the company, subsidiary, holding, associate, subsidiary of such holding company talks about fellow subsidiary. So H has two subsidiaries, S and S1. They both are fellow subsidiaries. So if I am, let's say, indebted to S, I cannot be appointed as trustee of S1. Okay. So any person who has to pay money to the company, you're indebted to the company, you won't think objectively. You will think about your interest. You will do whatever the company says. So you cannot be appointed as a trustee. Any person who has given guarantee for repayment of principal and interest in respect of the debentures. So I am giving guarantee on behalf of the company. Arey, don't worry. The company will repay the principal and interest, and if the company fails to pay, I will pay. That surety cannot be appointed as trustee. Any person who has pecuniary means financial or monetary. Any person who has pecuniary, monetary, financial relation with a company amounting to 2% or more of the gross turnover or income, or rupees 50 lakh, whichever is lower. See, I have highlighted the things that you need to use for calculation. So if you have financial transaction, first you will calculate 2% of the gross turnover or the total income, and then compare it with 50 lakhs, whichever is lower. Let's say 2% of the gross turnover comes to rupees 40 lakh. So whichever is lower, 40 lakh rupees. Now I have financial interest, some financial transaction with the company, but for amount less than 40 lakhs. I can be appointed as a trustee. Okay. So has any pecuniary relation amounting to 2% or more of the gross turnover of 50 lakhs or a higher amount, that nothing is prescribed, whichever is lower, during the two immediately preceding financial year or during the current financial year. If my transaction is less than this amount, I can be appointed as a trustee. But if the amount of my transaction with the company is either 40 lakhs or more than that, then I cannot be appointed as a trustee. The limit is 50 lakhs. Suppose my 2% comes to 80 lakhs. So then the limit will be considered as 50 lakhs because this is lower. If my transaction is more than 50 lakhs, then I cannot be appointed as a trustee. Okay, so that was all about appointing a trustee. Then there are so many other provisions also, like creation of casual vacancy, if he resigns, all that I normally discuss during the lectures. This is a rapid revision, so we are discussing only the important concepts. And yes, you also need to go through the liabilities, the duties of the debenture trustee, etc. Not very frequently asked in the exam, but can be asked: debenture redemption reserve. Okay, debenture redemption reserve. And the table which I have given in the chart book is a beautiful representation of the concept of DRR. Why? Because if you read the theory, if you read the module, you won't be able to understand anything. I can challenge. because it is given in such confusing language. But what I have done is I have now depicted in a proper tabular form. Now in the exam you can easily convert this table into sentence form. Okay, now what is the use and what is the need for creation of DRR? See, you need to pay these debentures, and from where will you arrange for money? So law says that some portion of your profit should be kept aside in the form of debenture redemption reserve. But that does not represent actual money. It is only a reserve which you have created, right? So DRF, that is the debenture redemption fund, represents actual money which you will keep aside and use it only and only for the repayment of debentures. This is to ensure that the company does not default. Now, DRR shall be created out of profits available for dividend. So can I say that I can use only free reserves? And what are the limits for creating DRR? We will see, Sambhav, if I have time, because I have to complete 3 units today, 3 parts, that is debenture, deposit, charge. So if we get time, we will discuss question answers. Otherwise, I will do it in the first part of tomorrow's lecture. That is on Monday. I will do it. But question answers तो discuss करेंगे ही हम. Otherwise, उसके आगे बिना तो proceed नहीं कर पाएंगे. ठीक है. Now, if you are an all India financial institution regulated by RBI, or you are a banking company. Now, which are the all India financial institutions? So you have the Exim Bank, Export Import Bank of India, NABARD, National Bank for Agricultural and Rural Development, SIDBI, Small Industries Development Bank of India. Then you have National Housing Bank. These are the 4 all India financial institutions. So if you are an all India financial institution or you are a banking company, हमें नहीं लगता that you will default. Okay, we are very confident कि ये इनके पास government backing है, they are regulated by RBI. We don't feel that there is any chance of default. They may go for public issue or private placement of debentures. They need not create DRR and they need not even create DRF, because there is very low chance of them defaulting. If you are a public financial institution, so financial institution in which there is government holding, you may go for public issue or private placement. You need to create DRR, but the percentage will be same as that of NBC, and as of now NBFCs are not required to create either DRR, they are not required to create DRR. So since NBFCs don't have to create DRR, indirectly public financial institutions will also not be required to create DRR. You are a listed company except one above. One above means except all India financial institution or banking company which is listed. Because इनका तो default होने का chance ही नहीं है ना, वो बहुत कम है. So you are a listed company. You may be a listed NBFC और HFC, that is Housing Finance Company. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पर मैं ये underline कर लेती हूँ, listed NBFC और HFC. You go for public issue or you go for private placement. देखो, there is a connection between the entire table. So we are discussing you are a listed company, you are a listed NBFC or HFC. Here again listed NBFC or HFC. You go for public issue or you go for private placement. You need not create DRR, but you have to create DRF. Now what is DRF? This is a debenture redemption fund. 15%, see I have mentioned over here, 15%, I'll just underline what is important for you. 15% of the amount of debentures maturing during the year ending on 31st March of the next year. Wait, we'll discuss up till here. So let's say that my year is 1st April 2020. Okay, now my year begins on 1st April 2020. It will end on 31st March 2021. So the amount of deposits which are maturing during this year, of that I will create 15% in the form of DRF. And what do I need to do with that money? When I calculate 15%, what do I need to do? It should be invested or deposited in the following investments within 30th April of the current year. In short, by 30th April 2020, I need to deposit or invest 15% of the amount of debentures which are maturing during the year starting from 1st April 2020 and ending on 31st March 2021. तो ये एक साल में जितने भी डिबेंचर्स मैच्योर हो रहे हैं उसका 15% मुझे इन इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स में इन्वेस्ट करना है और कब तक करना है बाय 30th April 2020. Which are those instruments? They are all government instruments जहाँ पर डिफॉल्ट होने का चांस कम है, लिक्विडिटी बहुत ज़्यादा है, देर इज हाई लिक्विडिटी, सो यू इन्वेस्ट सो दैट whenever you need money you can remove, you can take money from this the investments that you have created. So NBFC and HFC, if they are listed, they go for public issue or they go for private placement. DRF is required. Now you are other listed company, okay, you are other listed company, you go for private placement or public issue, the provisions are slightly different. If you are going for public issue, then you need to create DRF, but if you are going for private placement, then DRF is not required. Okay, so private placement of other listed companies, DRF is not required. If you are an unlisted company except the one above, that is All India Financial Institution, you are unlisted. If you are unlisted NBFC or HFC, we don't want to burden you, so you need not create DRR, you need not create DRF. We don't want to burden these non-banking financial institutions. But if you are other unlisted companies, you need to create DRR and you also need to create DRF. Okay, now what is the DRR? That is 10% of the outstanding debentures, and DRF is 15%. Now this asterisk says that it is required only in case, the calculation is given here, but this note says that it is required only in case of public issue. This was added through an amendment. Earlier it was required for private placement also, but now DRF is required. DRR though is required only, you go for private or public, but DRF is required only in case of public issue by these unlisted companies. Okay, so students, it is easy once you know what is written, once you get the flow of it, it becomes very easy when you write and practice. Okay, so this was about debentures. Now let us discuss something about charge. Many questions are asked from charge, and you can expect at least one question in your attempt from charge. Okay, so yes, I think definitely one question will be asked from debenture, one question from charge, and one question from public deposits. आएगा ही आएगा आपको. Now what is the meaning of charge? Charge means security. I have given something as security. So interest or lien, this is the definition. You know, charge was not defined in the 1956 Act. It was defined for the first time in the Companies Act 2013. Now, charge means any interest or lien created on the property or assets of the company or any of its undertaking, both as security, and it also includes mortgage. Earlier, only the meaning that was available is charge includes mortgage. But now they have properly defined it, that it is any interest or lien created on property or assets of the company or any of its undertaking, or maybe both. And it also includes mortgage. This is the definition given under section 2 clause 16. Yes, you need to remember this. Okay. Now, what are the different kinds of charge? There was a time when institute would ask a question very frequently on the types of charge and when does the floating charge crystallize? ये एक time पे institute का favorite हुआ करता था. But recently I have seen that they have stopped asking question on fixed charge and floating charge, the types of charges. Now, what is a fixed charge? A charge which is created on a specific or identifiable property. Now, a charge which is created on a particular asset which is of fixed value. Value does not keep fluctuating, like plant, machinery, building. This charge is known as fixed charge. What is floating charge? Yes, can you tell me what is floating charge? बहुत time से ऐसे ही बैठे हैं सब. चलो, बोलो. What is the meaning of floating charge? Floating charge is a charge which is created on assets of fluctuating nature, means उनका value fluctuate होता रहता है. So it is created on assets or class of assets which are of fluctuating nature, मतलब उनका value change होता रहता है, like debtors, bills receivable, their value keeps on changing. Raw material हो गया. Now fixed charge, if you want certain extra points, it is created on an asset of specific nature. The value does not keep on changing. You cannot deal in those assets. If a charge is created on an asset, you cannot deal it unless you obtain the permission of the charge holder. Like say for example, I have created a charge on a plant or a machinery. I cannot sell it unless I obtain the approval of the charge holder. But that is not the case for floating charge. Floating charge में the value keeps fluctuating because you can keep buying and selling that asset, like stock हो गया. So I can buy, I can sell the asset, again I will buy more stock. Whatever I buy, automatically उस पे floating charge create होता जाता है. The company is free to deal in those assets. But what if the company violates the terms? It stops doing business, or it goes into liquidation, or there is a default in payment of either principal or interest. Then in that case charge holder बोलेगा भाई अभी बस हो गया, अब वो चार्ज फ्रीज करो, क्रिस्टलाइज करो, जो भी आपका वो अमाउंट है, अब वो एसेट बेच के जो भी पैसा मिलेगा वो मेरा है. In that case the charge crystallizes. Okay, now what will happen that जो भी charge है वो crystallize हो गया. अब वो deal नहीं कर सकते आप, वो हम sell करेंगे, and whatever money is received we will use it to satisfy our debts. Okay, so that is the implication of crystallization of charge. अच्छा, every charge, every word बोलता है fixed हो या floating हो, every charge must be registered with ROC, and once it is registered it becomes an information in the public domain. Anyone who is dealing with a company is presumed to have knowledge of the charge created. अब आप कोई property खरीदने जाते हो, so you have to inquire whether that property is free or it is encumbered. Now let's say I went to buy a shop. मैंने तो वो सेल्स पर्सन से पूछा भाई शॉप फ्री है ना? हाँ हाँ सब फ्री है. अरे कोई लोन नहीं लिया है. इट इज देयर इज नो चार्ज क्रिएटेड ऑन दिस. मैंने खरीद ली. लेटर आई रियलाइज दैट इट वाज गिवन टू द बैंक एज सिक्योरिटी फॉर सम लोन. सो इट विल बी अज्यूम्ड कि मुझे वो लोन के बारे में ऑलरेडी पता था, बिकॉज द चार्ज इफ रजिस्टर्ड, एंड एवरी चार्ज हैज टू बी रजिस्टर्ड. Charge when registered becomes an information in the public domain. Anyone who is dealing with a company, जैसे वो हमने constructive notice पढ़ा था, anyone who is dealing with a company उसको पता होना चाहिए था that charge is created, and कब से knowledge होनी चाहिए थी. Section 80 क्या बोलता है? We assume that the person knew about the charge from the date of registration of such charge. तो जब से वो ROC के बाद रजिस्टर हुआ है तब से हम अज्यूम करेंगे कि आपको तो पता है. दैट इज वाई my dad always tells me that whenever you go to buy a property, even if you have the entire money, take 5 lakh rupees as loan from the bank, because bank loan देने से पहले तो सारा कुछ चेक करेगा ही ना, तो वो बता देगा whether the asset is encumbered or not, even if you don't know how to find it. तो मुझे ये आइडिया बहुत अच्छा लगा. आई थिंक हाँ ऐसा करना चाहिए, तो बैंक ही हमको बता देगा. अच्छा, इस पे केस बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस आते हैं. केस बेस्ड क्वेश्चन, सो प्लीज मार्क दिस एज इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर एग्जाम. सेक्शन 80, ये आपको जो प्रोविजंस है वो पढ़ के जाने हैं, दैट वी हैव टू चेक वेदर द एसेट इज एनकम्बर्ड और नॉट. अच्छा, कंपनी विल मेंटेन अ रजिस्टर ऑफ चार्ज. ये एक्चुअली अभी आपके सिलेबस में नहीं है, दे हैव रिमूव्ड इट, बट आई थिंक यू शुड हैव नॉलेज कि ये जो रजिस्टर है वो कैसे क्रिएट होता है, कितने टाइम तक प्रिजर्व करना है, उसमें क्या लिखा होगा. Section 85, although I don't think it will be asked in the exam. We will keep the register at the registered office of the company where other documents are kept. Entries will be made for creation of charge, modification अगर हमने उसमें कुछ terms vary कर लिए, and even satisfaction of charge. Satisfaction means I have repaid the loan and now the asset is free. See, when you're creating a charge and you're making entries in the register, so when it is satisfied, when that asset is free, वो भी तो हमको enter करना पड़ेगा ना register में. The whatever entries that you are making, acha, before that, along with the charge we will also keep the instrument creating the charge. जो भी agreement आपने enter किया था जिससे चार्ज क्रिएट हुआ है, जो भी डॉक्यूमेंट्स आपने भरे थे, वो भी सारे प्रिजर्व करेंगे along with the register. अच्छा, entries will be authenticated by director of the company or company secretary or any person who is authorized by the board. This document will be preserved for 8 years from the last entry which was made for satisfaction. ठीक है, तो register सॉरी जो रजिस्टर है ना, वो आई थिंक वो बाइफिकेशन नहीं लिखा है मैंने यहाँ पर. जो रजिस्टर है that will be preserved as a permanent document, and ये जो इंस्ट्रूमेंट है, ये जो इंस्ट्रूमेंट है क्रिएटिंग द चार्ज, जो पेपर्स हैं, जो मेरे एग्रीमेंट है, that will be kept for period of 8 years from the satisfaction of charge of the company. मतलब अभी मैंने एसेट बेच दी, अभी मैंने लोन रीपे कर दिया, अब वो एसेट फ्री हो गया, तो वो फ्री होने के 8 साल तक मैं वो पेपर अपने पास संभाल के रखूंगी. बट द रजिस्टर विल बी प्रिजर्व परमानेंटली. ओके, रजिस्टर इज अ परमानेंट डॉक्यूमेंट, वो तो प्रिजर्व करेंगे. एंड ये रजिस्टर है, इट इज ओपन फॉर पब्लिक. आप कभी भी जाके कंपनी में ड्यूरिंग बिजनेस आवर्स ये रजिस्टर देख सकते हो. एनी मेंबर और क्रेडिटर कैन सी विदाउट पेमेंट ऑफ फीस, एंड एनी अदर पर्सन वो फीस देके ये रजिस्टर देख सकता है. इट इज ऑल्सो कंसिडर्ड एज अ डॉक्यूमेंट विच इज ओपन फॉर इंस्पेक्शन. तो कंपनीज एक्ट तो ये बोलता है दैट सी वी आर रजिस्टरिंग दिस चार्ज. वेन एवर यू गिव लोन टू द कंपनी यू शुड हैव नॉलेज कि भाई चार्ज क्रिएट हुआ है कि नहीं. तुमको नहीं पता आरओसी के पास कैसे जाना है, गो टू द कंपनी, उनका रजिस्टर देख लो, वो भी एक ओपन डॉक्यूमेंट है. सो थर्ड पर्सन is supposed to first go and check, and only then he should give loan and take the asset as security. अगर आप negligent हो जाओगे then you cannot blame the company कि अरे तुमने मेरे को बताया नहीं, you didn't tell me that a charge is created. Company is not going to tell you, you have to verify. Okay, then we have extension of time limit. Yes, इसमें बहुत लोगों को confusion होता है. That is why I have put this in a tabular form so that there is no confusion. See, normal rule क्या बोलता है? What is the normal rule? That charge must be registered within 30 days of creation. जैसे ही charge create हो गया 30 days के अंदर अंदर आपको उसको register करना है. अगर नहीं किया तो what if there is some delay? See, we are giving you some extended time limit, but it depends when the charge was created. So what if the charge is created before 2nd of November 2018? This was the date when the ordinance was passed. ये जो भी हमने अमेंडमेंट लाया था ना, उसका ऑर्डिनेंस जब पास किया था तब वो 2nd नवंबर था, इसीलिए ऐसा ऑड डेट आपको मिलेगा. सो इट वॉज क्रिएटेड बिफोर 2nd of November बट इट इज नॉट रजिस्टर्ड विद इन 30 days. तो हम आरओसी के पास जाएंगे और उनको बोलेंगे अरे थोड़ा सा डिले हो गया, अभी मुझे टाइम दो ना. और ठीक है, the company will apply to the ROC, they will allow the registration within 300 days of creation. कितना टाइम देते थे पहले देखो. So if the charge is created, let's say on 1st of August 2016, I will have to register it by within 30 days, by 31st of August 2016 I need to register. So this was the date of creation. अरे मैंने रजिस्टर ही नहीं किया, तो क्रिएशन से मुझे 300 डेज मिलते थे, मतलब एडिशनली आई वुड गेट 270 डेज एडिशनली. अरे मैंने वो भी नहीं किया, 300 डेज में भी नहीं किया. देन लॉ सेज द लास्ट डे टू रजिस्टर इज 6 months फ्रॉम 2nd of November 2018. नाउ व्हाट इज द डेट? 2018 2nd November से अगर आप 6 months कैलकुलेट करोगे, it comes to 2nd May 2019. So you may create a charge anytime before 2nd May 2019. This is the last day. अरे मेरे 300 days extended time is not over only. My time is not over. हाँ, तो हम क्या बोलेंगे? This is the last date. You cannot register the charge created before 2nd November beyond this date. ठीक है. अच्छा, what if the charge is created after 2nd of November 2018? ठीक है, charge was created after 2nd November 2018 but it is not registered within 30 days. तो लॉ बोलता है कंपनी अप्लाई टू दी आरओसी, वो तुमको वो एक्सटेंशन दे देगा. ठीक है, लेकिन आई वॉन्ट अ डिक्लेरेशन फ्रॉम कंपनी सेक्रेटरी और डायरेक्टर स्पेसिफाइंग द रीजंस कि व्हाट इज द रीजन, व्हाई कुडंट यू रजिस्टर द चार्ज, बताओ. तो मेरे को एक declaration भी file करना पड़ेगा. This is new requirement. We are allowing you some extended time limit, but we want a declaration from the company secretary or director. क्या reason है? क्यों charge register नहीं किया? And you also have to mention that because of delay, no interest of charge holder or company is affected. ऐसे किसी को फर्क नहीं पड़ा ये delay की वजह से, वो भी लिखना पड़ेगा उसमें. Plus, I will have to pay some additional fees. Then the registrar will allow me to register within 60 days of creation. तो 1st August को मैंने चार्ज क्रिएट किया. आई मस्ट रजिस्टर इट विद इन 30 days, मतलब बाय 31st of August. मैंने नहीं किया. सो फ्रॉम 1st August आई विल गेट 60 days. अरे आई डेंट रजिस्टर इवन इन दोस 60 days. आफ्टर द 60th day I will be given another 60 days. Okay, I will be given another 60 days after the expiry of those 60 days. But now I will have to pay ad valorem fees. Ad valorem means it depends upon the value of asset. जो आपने नहीं, it is a percentage. It is dependent on the value of asset that you have not registered. So additional fees is a fixed amount. But this ad valorem is a percentage. मतलब जितना high value आपने register नहीं किया उतना ज़्यादा fees भरनी पड़ेगी आपको. वो MC की website पे जाके आपको rates मिल जाएंगे. So if you remember it in this table ना, तो फिर आपको easily याद हो जाएगा. So students, these were the provisions relating to extension of time. Now the last is satisfaction of charge. We always talk about creation. अरे charge create हो गया तो फिर उसको register कर दो with ROC. But अभी आपने satisfy भी तो कर दिया. Satisfy मतलब you have paid. Now the asset is no longer encumbered. If you are going to the ROC for creation of charge, तो अभी उसको ये भी तो बताओ कि अभी वो asset free हो गया है. So we will inform the ROC within 30 days of the payment कि अरे listen ROC, वो पे कर दिया है मैंने charge. ROC थोड़ी ना मेरी बात मानेगा. He will say अरे you are claiming that you have paid, but what about the charge holder? एक minute, wait. I will send a show cause notice to the charge holder. अरे listen charge holder, company is saying that they have paid money to you, asset is free. सच है क्या? Is it true? Show a cause why I should not satisfy this charge. तो हम उसको show cause notice भेजेंगे and then ये 14 days में हम भेजेंगे तो वो हमको reply करेगा हाँ मिल गया पैसा, you can satisfy. Or they will say no, we didn't get any money. So we will not just satisfy the charge on what the company is saying. We will also ask the charge holder. अच्छा, but what if the charge holder himself is submitting the documents and वो खुद ही declare करके दे रहा है कि yes I have received the money. In that case show cause notice नहीं जाएगा. ठीक है, अगर वो खुद ही बोलता है कि हाँ मेरे को पैसा मिल गया है. ROC में further allow extension of 300 days from satisfying. यहाँ पर अभी भी it is 300 days. Registrar will make entry for satisfaction of charge in the register. So if you see the register of a company, yes, correct Sambhav. So when he is sending us a signed document कि भाई I have already received the charge, तो वो CH4 में अगर वो मेरे को भेज देता है कि signed है, देखो ना मैंने charge pay किया, उसने भी sign करके दे दिया मुझे, then in that case it is not required. His show cause notice is not, because वो खुद ही acknowledge कर रहा है ना. Okay. Lastly, let us discuss acceptance of deposit. In that there are only 3 to 4 things which are very important for exam. One is what is not considered as a deposit. एक तो उस पे question आता है. Then another question will be asked on the limits. What is the limits? And then what are the penalty provisions. Yes, section 73, that is acceptance of deposits from the member who is an eligible company. उस पे theory question, long question आ सकता है. But yes, this is most important. What is not included as deposit? In this, you can expect theory question, case-based question. They will give you 3 or 4 sub-questions and 1, 2, 2 marks का रहेगा कि whether this is considered as a deposit or not. तो वो आपको लिखना है कि whether it is deposit or not. See now, so now, say for example, ऐसा क्यों है कि कंपनी डिपॉजिट्स एक्सेप्ट करती है? कंपनी के पास तो और भी बहुत सारे सोर्सेज हैं ना. सो कंपनी कैन एक्सेप्ट इक्विटी, कंपनी कैन इशू डिबेंचर्स, कंपनी डिपॉजिट भी ले सकती है. सो व्हाई इज अ कंपनी नॉट गोइंग फॉर इक्विटी, डिबेंचर्स, एंड व्हाई इज इट गोइंग फॉर deposit? Now, if I offer equity shares, I am diluting the interest. Okay, so if I go for equity, I am issuing more number of equity shares. जितना ज़्यादा equity मैंने issue कर दिया उतने number of equity shareholders बढ़ जाएंगे, profit तो उतना ही है. I am dividing that same amount of profit now with more equity shareholders, so there is dilution of interest. I don't want for long term, इसीलिए I am not going for equity. Then go for debentures, but debentures are generally for medium and long term requirement. I want only for short term, like 6 months to 36 months तक का मेरे को चाहिए. So I am not going to keep that money for more than 36 months. Then deposit is one very good way of raising money from the company, for the company. So deposit includes any receipt by way of deposit or loan or in any other form by the company, but deposit does not include. अच्छा, ये other provisions क्या है deposit से related? Payment of interest is time bound, repayment is also time bound. Quantum merit means as much as is earned. तो मैंने जितना काम किया है मुझे उतने पैसे तो दे दो. Okay, that is quantum merit. I had done a video on quantum merit. You can find it on the channel. Now, पब्लिक डिपॉजिट्स, सॉरी डिपॉजिट्स जो, अब तो पब्लिक की बात ही नहीं कर रहे हैं, सिर्फ डिपॉजिट की बात कर रहे हैं. डिपॉजिट्स डू नॉट इंक्लूड. नाउ दीज आर द फंड्स विच आई हैव रिसीव्ड फ्रॉम द इंस्टीट्यूट. कोई भी इंस्टीट्यूशन से, जैसे गवर्नमेंट, सेंट्रल या स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, वो कोई ग्रांट्स दे देते हैं, या फिर मुझे कोई डोनेशन ऐसा कुछ मिला है, दैट इज नॉट कंसिडर्ड एज अ डिपॉजिट बिकॉज इट इज नॉट रीपेएबल. अच्छा, एनी मनी रिसीव फ्रॉम लोकल अथॉरिटी, दैट इज म्यूनसिपैलिटी, वो रीपेएबल थोड़ी ना होता है, दैट इज नॉट कंसिडर्ड एज अ डिपॉजिट. अदर सोर्सेज हुज पेमेंट इज गारंटीड बाय द गवर्नमेंट, तो गवर्नमेंट ने गारंटी दिया है कि भाई ये सेक्टर को हमें प्रमोट करना है, इनको पैसे दे दो, दैट विल नॉट बी कंसिडर्ड एज अ डिपॉजिट. लोन रिसीव्ड फ्रॉम एनी फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन, क्योंकि वो तो उनका काम ही है लोन देना, तो वो तो एक प्रॉपर लोन होगा ना, दैट इज नॉट कंसिडर्ड एज अ डिपॉजिट. सी, देयर इज अ वेरी थिन लाइन ऑफ डिफरेंस बिटवीन लोन एंड डिपॉजिट. सो इफ यू आर टेकिंग मनी फ्रॉम एनी फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन जिसका काम ही है लोन देना, then that is a loan, it is not considered as deposit. Any money received from foreign government, banks, institutions subject to FEMA rules, that will not be considered as a deposit. उनको FEMA के rules apply करेंगे. Any money received from bank, it is a proper loan, that is not considered as deposit. Public financial institutions या money received from any other company, तो ठीक है, कोई भी कंपनी से मेरे को पैसा मिला जैसे, that is not considered as deposit. अच्छा, issue of commercial paper. Now commercial paper is a way of raising finance which is generally unsecured. अभी जो कंपनी है जिसकी बहुत सारी goodwill है, reputation है in the market, they will raise money through issue of commercial paper. It is generally for minimum 5 lakh rupees. मतलब minimum 5 lakh rupees हम एक commercial paper से raise कर लेते हैं, and then again we will raise it in multiples of rupees 5 lakhs. ठीक है, तो कमर्शियल पेपर जनरली अनसिक्योर्ड रहता है, उसके अलग प्रोविजंस हैं, दैट विल नॉट बी कंसिडर्ड एज अ डिपॉजिट. एनी अमाउंट ऑफ सब्सक्रिप्शन, दैट इज एप्लीकेशन मनी रिसीव्ड फ्रॉम द मेंबर्स ऑफ द पब्लिक अगेंस्ट, मुझे एप्लीकेशन मनी मिला, मेरे को अलॉटमेंट करनी है. अच्छा, लेकिन 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 मेरे को एप्लीकेशन मनी मिला, मिनिमम सब्सक्रिप्शन नहीं पूरा, whatever minimum subscription was required, वो पैसा मेरे को मिला ही नहीं मिनिमम, तो फिर लॉ क्या बोलता है, that you need to return the application money. अब आया हुआ पैसा कौन देता है ना, so हमने नहीं दिया. if you keep it with yourself then it will be considered as a deposit. तो लॉ बोलता है if you don't receive the minimum subscription then this application money will be returned within 15 days from the closure of the issue, otherwise it will be returned along with interest at the rate of 15% per annum. अब आपको 15 days के अंदर अंदर, अच्छा पहले तो बोलते हैं कि सिक्योरिटीज मनी मिला, सिक्योरिटीज अलॉट होनी चाहिए, नहीं किया तो रिफंड कर दो विद इन द नेक्स्ट 15 days, और अगर नहीं रिफंड किया देन यू विल हैव टू रिटर्न इट अलॉन्ग विद इंटरेस्ट एट द रेट ऑफ 15% per annum. लेकिन यहाँ पर आपने रिटर्न किया ही नहीं. Now if you don't return then that will be considered as a deposit. It is not refunded, तब वो deposit माना जाएगा. Bonds, debentures, compulsorily convertible debentures. Now bonds, debentures and compulsorily convertible debentures, ये तो debentures है ना, उनको अपने rules apply करेंगे, उनके provisions अलग से हैं. It's not a deposit and it is compulsorily convertible deposit. तो debenture है वो, तो वो तो इक्विटी में कन्वर्ट भी नहीं होने वाला है, कंपल्सरीली रिडीम ही हो जाएगा. दैट इज नॉट कंसिडर्ड एज अ डिपॉजिट. अच्छा, इनकी क्या रिक्वायरमेंट है? इट इज सिक्योर्ड बाय फर्स्ट चार्ज और चार्ज रैंकिंग पैरी पासू विद द फर्स्ट चार्ज. मतलब कि एसेट जब भी सेल होगा इनको सबसे पहले पेमेंट मिलेगी, तो देन दैट इज नॉट कंसिडर्ड एज अ डिपॉजिट. एनीवेज दे आर सिक्योर्ड डिवेंचर्स, उनके अपने प्रोविजंस हैं. CCDs should be convertible within 10 years. अच्छा, इस पे you can expect case based question 1 या 2 marks का. Okay, 1 or maybe 2 marks, 1 mark or 2 mark. There are other requirements also, provided that the market value should be more than the amount of bonds. In simple words, they want that the debenture should be secured. If the market value is more than the amount of bonds or debentures, it means that the debentures are secured, no? So that is a debenture, secured debenture. It's not a deposit. हाँ, अगर वो market value कम रहेगा, then it will be considered as deposit. Any amount raised from non-convertible debentures, unsecured and listed on the stock exchange. Okay, then that will be not considered as a deposit. तो नॉन कन्वर्टेबल डिवेंचर है, अनसिक्योर्ड है. अच्छा, पहले तो नॉन कन्वर्टेबल है, अनसिक्योर्ड है, लिस्टेड है, देन दैट विल नॉट बी कंसिडर्ड एज अ डिपॉजिट. दीज 3 थिंग्स यू हैव टू कीप इन माइंड. अगर वो सिक्योर्ड है या फिर वो नॉट लिस्टेड है, देन इट विल बी कंसिडर्ड एज अ डिपॉजिट. एनी अमाउंट रिसीव्ड फ्रॉम एम्प्लॉइज less than his annual salary. So if annual salary is let's say 5 lakhs, मुझे उससे पैसा मिला है मुझे पैसा मिला है 3 lakhs in the nature of non-interest bearing security deposit. Okay, it is less than his annual salary, then that is not considered as a deposit. If it is more than his annual salary, then it will be considered as a deposit. And it should also be non-interest bearing. ये आपको ध्यान में रखना है, non-interest bearing. Okay, मनी रिसीव फ्रॉम डायरेक्टर्स, प्राइवेट हो पब्लिक हो फर्क नहीं पड़ता. अच्छा, प्राइवेट में तो आपको रिलेटिव से भी पैसा मिल सकता है. अमाउंट रिसीव फ्रॉम द रिलेटिव्स ऑफ डायरेक्टर ऑफ अ प्राइवेट कंपनी. नाउ हाउ शुड यू रीड दिस? पब्लिक कंपनी कैन एक्सेप्ट मनी ओनली फ्रॉम द डायरेक्टर्स, बट अ प्राइवेट कंपनी कैन एक्सेप्ट मनी फ्रॉम डायरेक्टर्स एज वेल एज देयर रिलेटिव्स. क्यों रिलेटिव्स को अलाउ किया इन केस ऑफ प्राइवेट कंपनी? बिकॉज सी प्राइवेट कैन नॉट गो टू द पब्लिक, तो उनके पास तो वैसे भी लिमिटेड है, मेंबर्स कितना पैसा देंगे, डायरेक्टर्स कितना लेकर आएंगे, तो ठीक है रिलेटिव्स ने भी अगर पैसा दे दिया दैट विल नॉट बी कंसिडर्ड एज डिपॉजिट. डायरेक्टर और रिलेटिव इन केस ऑफ अ प्राइवेट कंपनी, डायरेक्टर ऑफ बोथ, प्राइवेट पब्लिक कोई भी हो सकता है. एंड इन केस ऑफ प्राइवेट आपने अगर रिलेटिव से भी पैसा ले लिया, देन दैट विल नॉट बी कंसिडर्ड एज डिपॉजिट, प्रोवाइडेड वो अगर एक डिक्लेरेशन देते हैं दैट दिस मनी इज रिसीव्ड आउट ऑफ ओन फंड्स एंड नॉट बोरोड फंड्स. अदरवाइज व्हाट विल हैपन? डायरेक्टर से आया हुआ पैसा एनीवेज इज नॉट कंसिडर्ड एज डिपॉजिट. ये लोग बोलेंगे अरे चल ना डायरेक्टर तू बोरो कर, हमको लाके दे और बोल कि ये डायरेक्टर ने पैसा लाया है. सो गिव अस अ डिक्लेरेशन दैट दिस इज आउट ऑफ योर ओन फंड्स एंड नॉट बोरोड फंड्स. Nowadays तो only eligible companies can accept deposit from the public. 1956 में कोई भी कर सकता था. Now only eligible public companies can accept deposits from the general public. बाकी क्या करेंगे फिर? मेंबर से ले लो ना डिपॉजिट. अच्छा, मेरे को प्रमोटर से पैसा आया है क्योंकि कोई बैंक की रिक्वायरमेंट थी, पैसा डालो. अच्छा, जब तक वो रीपे नहीं हो जाता तब तक इट इज नॉट कंसिडर्ड एज अ डिपॉजिट, क्योंकि बैंक ने बोला दैट इज व्हाई द प्रमोटर हैज गॉट इट. अच्छा, तो लोन exemption can be availed only till the money is repaid. एक बार रीपे हो गया then that will not be considered as a deposit. अच्छा, इसमें थोड़ा अगर मैं elaborate करूं तो कंपनी ने बैंक से लोन लिया. Okay, they took loan from the bank. Now the bank has asked the promoter to give some deposit to the company. So the promoter has kept some deposit with the company कि भाई if the company is not able to repay the loan तो फिर ये पैसा यूज कर लेंगे. So the promoter has kept deposit with the company. Now the company repaid the loan. फिर भी वो डिपॉजिट कंपनी के पास ही पड़ा है प्रमोटर का. अच्छा, जब तक लोन रीपे नहीं किया था तब तक डिपॉजिट नहीं माना जाएगा, बिकॉज वी हैड गॉट दैट मनी बिकॉज बैंक रिक्वायर्ड अस टू ब्रिंग दैट. Once the loan is repaid by the company, this is no longer required, but still if the promoter is keeping that money with the company, then it will be considered as a deposit. Non-interest amount as trust या फिर trade advances for supply of goods provided they are appropriated within 365 days. You receive money against the supply of goods, you receive money against supply of capital goods. अरे ये तो बिजनेस ट्रांजैक्शन के लिए है ना, रेगुलर बिजनेस एक्टिविटी है. दैट मनी इज रिसीव्ड विच इज नॉट कंसिडर्ड एज अ डिपॉजिट. उसके अगेंस्ट हम लोन, उसके अगेंस्ट हम गुड्स देने वाले हैं, दैट इज नॉट कंसिडर्ड एज डिपॉजिट. सेक्शन 73 बोलता है पब्लिक के पास नहीं जा सकते, यू कांट गो टू द पब्लिक. तो हम किसके पास जाएं फिर? मेंबर्स है ना, उनसे ले लो. सो यू कैन एक्सेप्ट डिपॉजिट्स फ्रॉम मेंबर्स प्रोवाइडेड द फॉलोइंग कंडीशंस आर सेटिस्फाइड. एक तो आपको सर्कुलर इशू करना पड़ेगा. अच्छा, तो कंपनी क्या बोलती है, प्राइवेट के पास तो कोई ऑप्शन ही नहीं है, प्राइवेट विल हैव टू गो टू द मेंबर्स ओनली. पब्लिक कंपनी अगर एलिजिबल नहीं है देन दे विल गो टू द मेंबर्स, एलिजिबल है ओनली देन दे कैन गो टू द पब्लिक. तो कंपनी विल इशू अ सर्कुलर मेंशनिंग द फाइनेंशियल पोजीशन ऑफ द कंपनी, दैट वी आर इन अ पोजीशन टू रीपे द मनी, व्हाट इज द क्रेडिट रेटिंग ऑब्टेन्ड. And every time you have to obtain a credit rating agency whether you are capable of repaying this deposit or not, who are the number of depositors, what is the amount due towards them, ताकि हमको भी idea आए whether the company is regular in repaying the deposit amount or not. A copy of this circular will be filed with the ROC. तो there are other requirements also, लेकिन अगर आपको member के पास जाने तो पहले उनको inform करना पड़ेगा कि ये देखो ये सारी requirements हैं, please you give money, we need money for short term requirement. The company will also create a deposit repayment reserve, just like debenture redemption reserve. You have to create a deposit repayment reserve, and this reserve can be used only for the repayment of deposit and no other purpose. So you will deposit this in a separate bank account. अच्छा, कितना deposit करना है? Before 30th April of each year, you have to deposit at least 20%. ठीक है, तो by 30th April every year, 30th April every year, you have to deposit an amount not less than 20% of the amount of deposits which are maturing during the following financial year. तो suppose मेरा financial year है 1st April 2020 से 31st March 2021 तक, तो ये टाइम में जितने भी मेरे डिपॉजिट्स मेच्योर हो रहे हैं उसका 20% मुझे एज रिजर्व क्रिएट करना है, वेरी सिमिलर टू DRR. यस, तभी भी ऐसे ही करते थे ना. So on or before 30th April, again I will write it in this manner only, जैसे मैंने debentures में लिखा था. तो 1st April 2020 to 31st March 2021, इसमें मेरा जितना भी डिपॉजिट रीपे करना है मुझे, वो 20% I will deposit in a separate bank account by 30th April every year. तो मतलब I am keeping some money aside for repayment. Company should not have defaulted in repaying the deposit earlier. और अगर कंपनी ने डिफॉल्ट कर भी दिया तो कोई बात नहीं, हमने वो बाद में रीपे कर दिया था. We have made good the default and 5 years have elapsed. एक कूलिंग पीरियड रखा हमने, उसमें मैंने कोई डिफॉल्ट नहीं किया था. Then you can accept deposits. Repayment should be along with interest. So repayment will be along with interest, and tenure is generally 6 months to 36 months. मतलब short term requirement के लिए ही I will accept deposits from the public. What is the maximum amount? वो मैंने ना नीचे दिया यहाँ पर. Company accepting deposits under section 73 में the total amount of deposits, new, outstanding, जितना भी आप ले रहे हो, should be less than 35% of the paid up capital, free reserves and securities प्रीमियम. तो ये लिमिट के अंदर ही आपको डिपॉजिट्स रखने हैं, और लिमिट अगर क्रॉस हो रही है तो फिर आपको रीपेमेंट करनी पड़ेगी इवन दो द टर्म हैज नॉट एक्सपायर्ड, क्योंकि यू हैव टू कीप द अमाउंट ऑफ डिपॉजिट्स विद इन दिस लिमिट. अच्छा, नाउ ओनली एलिजिबल कंपनीज कैन एक्सेप्ट डिपॉजिट्स. और एलिजिबल कंपनी कितना डिपॉजिट एक्सेप्ट करेगी? मेंबर से न्यू प्लस आउटस्टैंडिंग शुड बी लेस देन 10%. एंड अगर वो पब्लिक के पास जा रही है, इट शुड बी लेस देन 25% ऑफ द पेड अप कैपिटल, फ्री रिजर्व्स एंड सिक्योरिटीज प्रीमियम. दिस इज द टोटल लिमिट बाय एलिजिबल कंपनी. अच्छा, एलिजिबल कंपनी होती कौन सी है? एक तो वो पब्लिक कंपनी है, ठीक है. एलिजिबल कंपनी मतलब एक पब्लिक कंपनी हो गई जिसका नेटवर्थ इज मोर देन 100 करोड़ और द टर्नओवर इज मोर देन ₹500 करोड़. तो अभी सिर्फ और सिर्फ एक एलिजिबल कंपनी ही पब्लिक के पास जा सकती है. अगर मैं एलिजिबल नहीं हूं तो मेंबर से ले लो ना, टेक इट फ्रॉम द मेंबर्स. लेकिन उससे ज्यादा यू कांट एक्सपेक्ट एनीथिंग. ओके, you need the prior approval of the company by passing a special resolution in the general meeting. अगर नहीं किया तो मेरे को पनिशमेंट हो जाएगी. दैट पनिशमेंट इज गिवन अंडर सेक्शन 76 कैपिटल ए. कैपिटल ए मतलब इसमें थोड़े अमेंडमेंट्स लाए थे. इफ यू सी द पनिशमेंट, कंपनी 1 करोड़ और ट्वाइस द अमाउंट विच एवर इज लोअर, मैक्सिमम 10 करोड़ तक जा सकता है. ऑफिसर्स imprisonment up to 7 years, fine plus 25 lakh rupees which may go to 2 crores. There is heavy penalty if you contravene the provisions of section 73 to 76. अगर आप एलिजिबल कंपनी नहीं हो और आपने डिपॉजिट्स लेकर रखा था, सो नाउ यू विल हैव टू रीपे. यू कांट इवन रिन्यू इफ यू आर नॉट एन एलिजिबल कंपनी. और अगर मैंने रीपे नहीं किया तो भी मेरे को हैवी पेनल्टी लग जाएगी. टाइम लिमिट था विद इन 3 years फ्रॉम द कमेंसमेंट ऑफ द एक्ट, या फिर फर्दर एक्सटेंडेड टाइम लिमिट बाय द ट्राइब्यूनल. इस पे क्वेश्चन आने का चांस थोड़ा कम है. अगर क्वेश्चन आया मोस्टली तो व्हाट इज नॉट कंसिडर्ड एज अ डिपॉजिट, व्हाट इज पनिशमेंट अंडर सेक्शन 76A, एंड ये लिमिट्स, इन पे क्वेश्चन आएगा मोस्टली. As far as the theory is concerned, if you see section 73 और 76 की theory almost same है. So joint कितने होने चाहिए depositors, what is the tenure, when is it to be repaid, then आपको deposit receipt issue करनी है within 21 days from the receipt of money. You have to maintain a register of deposit. So these are all overlapping provisions which you will have to study. Most of these provisions are self-explanatory, but most important for exam are these provisions which we have covered here. Unfortunately हमारा time exceed हो गया है, and I will not be able to discuss the questions today, but when we meet on Monday for the next lecture, मुझे questions करने हैं, and this time I am going to just give you time to solve it on your own. Or we can do one thing, ये मुझे अभी जस्ट स्ट्राइक हुआ है बिकॉज आई कैन सी मैनी स्टूडेंट्स, जैसे संभव है, ही इज़ वेरी रेगुलर इन अटेंडिंग द लेक्चर्स एंड वो काफ़ी इन्वॉल्व भी होता है. तो मुझे जस्ट स्ट्राइक हुआ दैट आई विल शेयर अ स्मॉल पेपर विद यू. क्या बोलते हो? ऑन द व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप जो आपने ज्वाइन किया है ना, what I'll do is I'll share a small paper and I'll also put it on Telegram and I'll pin it, ताकि आपका WhatsApp में अगर मिस भी हो गया हो तो टेलीग्राम पे पिन कर दूंगी एंड व्हाट्सएप पे भी शेयर कर दूंगी. इफ यू वांट, यू राइट द पेपर, यू राइट दोज 3 questions, 1 from each unit, and you send it to me for checking. तो आई गो थ्रू इट, आई गिव यू माई फीडबैक. क्योंकि अभी वो स्टेज आ गई है जहाँ पर हमको राइटिंग प्रैक्टिस करनी चाहिए, है ना. तो वॉट यू डू इज यू रिवाइज दिस ड्यूरिंग द वीकेंड, एंड वेन एवर यू हैव टाइम आप मेरे को वो भेज दो. यू हैव माई व्हाट्सएप नंबर, यू आर ऑलरेडी अ पार्ट ऑफ द व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप ऑल्सो. So by tonight I will share a small paper with you. Attempt karo, and how to write that also I will tell you. Divide your answer into 3-4 paragraphs, that is provisions likhoge, usko underline karoge, then you will write facts of the case, analysis and conclusion. ठीक है, आप ऐसे लिख के मुझे सेंड करो and I will get back to you. ठीक है, so let's do that exercise this time. थोड़ा कुछ चेंज भी हो जाएगा और हमारी प्रैक्टिस भी हो जाएगी. चलो guys, I'll end the session now and I'll meet you on Monday. Okay, Monday को same time 7 PM को मिलेंगे and then I will discuss management and administration. ठीक है, ये बहुत important chapter है, इसमें बहुत कुछ है. मैनेजमेंट एंड एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन डिस्कस करेंगे एंड उसके बाद तो फिर हमारा बहुत फटाफट होता जाएगा बिकॉज डिविडेंड है, अकाउंट्स, ऑडिट एंड ऑडिटर्स, 3-4 लेक्चर में पोर्शन अपना पूरा अच्छे से रिवाइज हो जाएगा. All right students, so I'll take your leave, enjoy your weekend and I'll meet you again on Monday at 7 PM. Okay, bye bye guys, good night.